What's up, guys? Xervean here. I just wanted to quickly make a video going over this debate. It kind of popped off 2 weeks ago or so, and this guy here, based on his performance, got invited on Tim Pool, uh, and he got a lot of kind of coverage on it. And he just had some kind of like really nasty, aggressive debate bro type tactics, and a little knowledge of philosophy enough to fuck up Sam Seder. It's one of those things where, like, if you've been training jujitsu for like 6 months and some new dude that's about your size and strength walks into the gym, the guy's just completely fucked and drawing dead. It's basically the same situation here. He knew a little bit of philosophy, and he just had Sam Seder in kind of pretty big trouble. So let's go ahead and go through this and see what Sam could have done to protect himself and fight back.
Hey,
Because this guy's arguments are really bad.
it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
So this guy is this dude is a Christian nationalist, which means he wants to have the laws changed to conform with Christian religion.
Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's wrong with religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats, is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us, and I don't.
But morality, from your view, is going to be a preference, right? It's not morality; it's a preference.
Yeah, see this thing, and this is kind of like his whole angle, his whole mode of attack for this entire thing. He tries to say your morality is just a preference. If you don't have a foundation of Christianity, it's just a preference. Like he says it in the most condescending tone, just try to downplay, just try to completely make any type of moral claim that Sam says is just completely arbitrary and can change at any moment on any whim. You'll see how this kind of develops.
So morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
Well, I have a foundation for my morality.
Which is what?
It's a humanist vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist? Utilitarian?
So consequentialist is basically any type of moral theory where the rightness of an action depends on the outcomes, and utilitarianism is a implementation of consequentialism, where good is defined as bringing the greatest amount of happiness or pleasure to the greatest amount of people and minimizing the greatest amount of suffering and pain for the most people. That's the distinction between those two. It's arguable here actually that Sam should have just right from the get-go just committed to the facts and said, yeah, my morality is a preference. And then and just said, but so is yours. Your religion it's like importing a configuration file with all of your moral preferences. And the religion itself is a preference. So yeah, yours is all preferences as well. I mean, you could completely just commit to that. And then he says, well, no, my God is objectively real. And you could be like, okay, well, prove that your God is real, and he's not going to be able to. You could also go along the line of argumentation. How do we know the Hindu God and their foundation isn't real? How do we know Islam, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You could definitely go down that line of attack.
I don't really bother myself with being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Okay, so it's kind of another nasty little thing. And how I would counter this personally is I would use the classic, is something good because God says it is, or does God say it is because it is good? And if they say something is good because God says it is, then you could just be like, well, that's just a preference of God and it's subject to change. So God could decide that killing is good all of a sudden, like he did during the flood or some of the other atrocities in the Bible where he killed like all the men, women, and children, except for Noah's family. And so it can't really be a great foundation if it's subject to change at any time based on the whims of God. And if he says, well, God says it's good because it is good, well, that would imply that, the morality exists outside of God. So, and this would kind of be in line with the Garden of Eden, with Eve being tempted by the talking snake and eating the fruit from the tree. She gains the knowledge of good and evil, right from wrong, and she become like God in that regard. And this can be interpreted. Most people interpret this to mean that um, you can use rationality to determine what is right or wrong in situations. And then from this, you could go on into Immanuel Kant's deontological theory of morality. Uh, and I'll just go ahead and briefly go over that. So there's basically three main tenets to it. The first is that you have a duty to yourself and humanity to always do the right thing, regardless of the consequences. The second is people are not a means to an end, they are an end in and of themselves, meaning each person has an infinite worth. So, if you have the classic trolley cart problem, well, the utilitarian, if the trolley cart's headed towards five people, they flip the switch and send it down towards one person, so only one person dies. Well, in deontology, you let the five people die because both people have infinite worth, and if you make the action to kill the guy that wasn't going to get killed by the event that's already set in motion in terms of nature, then you've acted in a morally wrong fashion according to deontology. The next tenet would be only take an action if you're fine with said action becoming a universal law. So only do something if you're fine with people doing it all the time in all situations. So you wouldn't want to lie to get out of a situation because you wouldn't be fine with everyone lying all the time, because then you would never be able to tell what is true or false. And then the yeah, so that's basically deontology in a nutshell. Consequences don't matter, and yeah. So let's go ahead and go on.
No, I don't base my understanding of civil society on religion. And so we have a civil society, we have laws that we have decided.
Yeah, the whole point of the deontology thing, by the way, is that you can use rationality to um, most reasonable people will come to agreement on, what a good system of morality would be. So, technically, it is still subjective though, because people could disagree on fringe issues. So, it might be something like, "Hey, I want to fuck a bunch of girls outside of wedlock," but then, um, and I'm fine with everybody else fucking a bunch of girls outside of wedlock. That might be fine for one person based on how they were raised, but then you might have another person, I want to bang, who think, oh yeah, I want to bang this chick, but yeah, actually, I don't want my daughter to get cheated on by her husband, so I'm not going to do this. So that would be an example of deontology being potentially subjective, but it's still like a great way to, in general, rationalize right from wrong, I would say. For most issues, I wanted to kind of include the counter to that as well. So
Decided as a society in a
Yes.
democratic way. And for
Perfect.
some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society comes together and we say, hey,
okay, so let me back this up real quick. Well, actually, so Sam just made a massive blunder, and basically what he did was he conflated morality with ethics, and that's going to be kind of a fatal mistake. So the distinction is that morality is your personal code of conduct for what is right and wrong, which is developed based upon how you were raised. Could involve your religion, and your life experiences, that type of thing. And ethics is, what people in your society, like your social construct for your government, have determined is best for a healthy, functioning society. So you want to have this distinction there, because then if a law gets changed, you could still say, well, I personally think this is immoral. But if you completely align your morality with a law, then you have no choice but to fall into all of this guy's traps, which you'll begin to see here in a moment.
Trans folks don't deserve rights. You would be okay with that?
Yeah.
No, I
See, he's already fucked. Because now he just said that, based on what society wants, now he has to do all these hypotheticals where if they go against trans rights, then he has to accept that the trans don't deserve rights or whatever. Yeah, it's just like the lame little traps.
I would be against it, but I mean, it would be
They would be morally right under your
not
view.
morally right. No. I'm
Okay.
not talking about morals
Okay,
here.
so here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off
I
of.
believe you can have an ethical framework without
and
religion.
if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rates. You have a reproductive dead end, so two men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple. Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize the nuclear family.
So do you have a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem. I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good.
You don't need a justification other than that, dude. The whole life, liberty, pursuit of happiness thing, right? I mean, you don't need a justification other than that.
Can you
Biology, bro.
give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay, what about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
Oh God, he's going in with the pedophiles. See, even if the pedophiles were born that way, you could simply think of them as having malfunctioning brains, so they need to be locked up somewhere so they don't hurt themselves or others. Well, I guess they would just be hurting others primarily.
They may be, yeah.
Okay, so should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
Such a stupid fucking bad faith question. Absolutely not. Lock them up.
No, I think we as a society has decided.
Should implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge, correct?
Well, I think between consenting adults, it's a different
Implement laws. I don't know if you would call it duties.
thing than.
Okay,
I
so
mean, you have a duty to protect your community, I guess. But you don't need religion for that.
You're okay with a
children.
45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well? Incest.
Now he's going with the incest attack plan. I mean, I would just say, no, we could just kind of use the deontology thing, right? Like, we know that previous societies, or that actually, I guess it wouldn't really be deontology in this case, but you could just say, well, we know societies that practiced incest in history had tremendous amounts of birth defects and anomalies, and we're not very healthy people. So we can say, oh, that wouldn't be a healthy functioning society. That wouldn't be a good thing. We don't need religion to know that incest is not good.
No,
If they consent, you're okay with that?
no, I think society is all.
I guess actually that would be deontology, that rationality. Yeah, you wouldn't want everybody in the world engaging in incest, so you just don't do incest, basically. Yeah.
Also determined that it's not beneficial.
Right, there's
for-
duties and obligations that we have. So religion provides those duties. Life isn't about
Well, but
freedom
also
and
I can-
exercising what you want.
I mean, well, you want to impose your religion.
You could just have duties to your community, like the whole and all of humanity, duty to do the right thing. Yeah.
Religious doctrine
No,
on me,
because
and I don't want that.
you just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as a society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide anything besides it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what's your argument?
What's my argument as to why I don't want
You have no
your
contention.
religion to? Well, because first of all, I don't think that you have the right to corner what God is telling us is right or wrong.
Yeah, that's a good point because, it could be that the devil is telling, him. The devil could have influenced people that wrote the Bible. How do you know that another God isn't a true God? So I mean, there's so many different
And
responses.
there are differences between religions. And so my argument is, like, you're not going to keep halal or kosher, right? I mean, I don't believe that someone has a corner on religious truth. And the reason why we have a democracy is because we didn't want a king. And the kings came from the idea that their God said that they're the ones who's supposed to
This motherfucker, he wants a fucking king. He wants King Trump.
be king. And so we can disagree on this. I don't want to live in a country that is ruled by religious fundamentalism.
And if I do, you have no issue with that.
And no.
See, he's saying if I do want to live in that world, then you have no issue with that. This is big. This is his big gotcha, because Sam agreed at the beginning that his morality was in line with the laws of the government, and so now he's saying because Donald Trump won the presidency and is pushing Christian nationalist type fundamentalist values, that now Sam has to be okay with it, because he said that whatever the government says is what is moral. That is basically this guy's argument. Even though Sam has kind of backed out of that position a little bit and said, I'm not talking about morality or whatever. But yeah, so that he's got this little gotcha on him, and he's not gonna let him out of it. It's kind of he's a nasty guy, and just let's go ahead and continue.
And this is why I say under Trump, yes, you have won.
Yes.
You have a
Only
bunch
male
of
and
Christian.
female. You're right.
You have a
Oh, he's so fucking smug.
Christian nationalist,
Yes,
and
which is necessary.
And so I concede the point that under Trump, your Christian nationalism has gained an advantage under this.
Sorry, we're going to
And
have
so
more kids. We're going to have less abortions. We're going to have more family. We're going to have stable family households. Sorry about better
Trans
education.
people, gay people should be outlawed.
They should be straight. They should be straight.
Women should be
They should be straight. God damn it.
secondary to their husbands.
Women should submit
right?
to the husbands.
Women
That
Oh,
doesn't
boy.
mean That doesn't mean they are
husbands.
slaves.
Here we
That doesn't mean
go.
they are- It means they are
I
protected.
understand. You
Okay,
got
let
a
me ask you
hierarchy.
that. Let me ask you.
No.
Should
I
women
want
be
you-
drafted?
listen,
Should women be
listen,
drafted?
Listen.
There hasn't been any drafts since Vietnam, bro. But you could just say yes to this. I mean, like Israel, mandatory service for women. I remember like even like Gal Gadot served in it. So I mean, you could just say yes to this.
I think
If they're equal, should they be drafted?
I think this is the vision that you have, and I think Trump supports it.
Yes.
I think the Christian nationalists he has throughout his government are all going to work towards your vision.
Yes.
And my hope is that when people look at this, they say, hey, wait a second. I don't want my life to be dictated by the notion of a Christian nationalist prescription. Now, you may win out. I mean, certainly, like if you look at a country like Iran, they have a theocracy there, and apparently that's good for them if they want it.
My final point is whenever
but
we
I
see,
don't want to live in a
My final point is
theocracy.
whenever we see people live out Christian values to its full extent, we see a great society. When we see people deviate from that, that's where all the problems arise.
All right,
I
pause.
think you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Dark Ages were pretty great, huh? No, actually, they were kind of a disaster in terms of successful societies. But America's doing quite well with separation of church and state, I would have to say. Of course, he would say America was founded on Christian values, blah, 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 blah. But, yeah.
You are at home in the Trump. Trump
Thank you very
world.
much.
You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Yeah, so apparently Tim Pool was so impressed by this guy, got invited on, and they just kind of sat and laughed at Sam. But yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to be prepared when you run into a guy like this. And I didn't hear that this guy claimed to have objective morality. He kind of did. He called it a foundation. If they say that reality or morality is objective due to Christianity, you can kind of go out like this mode of attack where, you know, you can refer to like something being objective is like outside of your subjective experience, like something that is in reality, like something that corresponds to reality. So like an objective statement is an is statement, a description of reality, and a moral statement is an ought statement. How you view the world ought to be, your valuations upon the world. So that would be a like a in philosophy like a prescriptive statement, your moral, a normative statement, your value judgments. So there's a clear distinction, and in philosophy, there's this whole concept that you can't get an ought from an is. So there's this clear distinction, and you can go down that route of argumentation as well. But I don't think he ever said the word objective. He just said this is my foundation. So, anyways, I thought it was pretty interesting debate. Just to go over this guy's kind of nasty tactics, and some of you guys can maybe be prepared or know a little bit better how to prepare for some arguments like this. Anyways, lots more videos to come, and thanks for tuning in. Peace.